All right. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Legend of the Three Kingdoms. Yes, this is my custom D&D campaign, set in a strange world where there are vampires and werewolves and another group of people that have guns. No, I can't even remember her name now. I feel stupid. Who is the girl from the Underworld series?
Kate Beckinsale.
There we go. No Kate Beckinsale. I feel dumb. That was going to be a really funny joke. It wasn't, but in my mind it was. So yeah, these guys have all kind of been brought together for various reasons to try and protect this town where a noble has made up some false paperwork claiming that he owns the land that the town is built on and is trying to run all of the people out of the town for some unknown reason. These guys have been able to find that there is somebody pulling this noble's strings, but they don't know who it is, and they've been attacked by a mysterious group of people with some interesting powers. I think two of which got away, or maybe just one. I think only one got away. So at the end of our last game, you guys were able to. I think you guys were able to make it back to town, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
the bounty hunter guy.
Mordecai.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Mordecai came in, tried to convince you to leave, and then when you guys didn't agree to do that, he left without incident, which was kind of a badass scene. Like, the DM must have been pretty cool to come up with that. I'm just saying.
Pretty cool.
So, yeah, that's just happened. So you guys are still kind of in the center of town. You can feel kind of an air of fear kind of radiating from the buildings around you, because the whole town went and hid when he came in, or the people that are there. Obviously, it's a farming community, so a lot of people are off, like, working the farm. But the people that were in town, they all hid, and you can kind of see them peeking out of windows and stuff like that. And there's just this kind of low-laying feeling of fear coming from everybody right now. So, what do you guys want to do? Mordecai has just gone out of sight.
So what's the plan, guys?
Is it early morning or I can't remember what time it was.
Let's say mid-morning. Afternoon-ish, or noonish.
High noon.
It's high noon.
Oh, that's right. That's why that's in that chat log. Okay.
It's 12:45.
Well, I feel like we can't go to House Merovingian or the city around it for the time being, because we don't know if he'll strike when we're gone.
Mm-hmm. And you do know from where you guys are, I have to get to the part of the map that I can see. You do know from where you guys are that House Merovingian is at least a few days' journey if you're pushing it. So, yeah, you'd probably be gone a week if you were to go to House Merovingian and back.
Got any ideas, Commander?
You did mention something about attacking their supplies last time.
Yeah, that was my idea. We should when we were on that back side of the camp where the river. I know it was dark, right?
It was nighttime when you guys were there.
Okay, so there's no way to have seen any other roads or anything like that.
I mean, with with you being familiar with military tactics in general, and Argenta having her mercenary background, if you guys put your heads together, from what you did see, you can plot out pretty well the kind of layout of the camp. Like, they weren't trying to be secretive where they were. They picked a place that was easy to defend.
Yeah.
Not hard to find. The thing that makes it hard to find is it's well off the beaten path, not that they're camouflaged or anything. So, yeah, you probably have a decent... Like, you couldn't tell where every single person was, but you got a decent idea of, where they keep the food, where they sleep, stuff like that. Because you guys did see a bunch of different fires where people were, cooking and stuff like that. So you've got a rough idea of the layout. That's the word I was looking for.
Because my idea is kind of essentially is starve them out sort of thing, where we will have. It's going to be tricky because I know they have night. They have something going on with nights. With that group we ran into coming back, but I'm thinking we kind of starve them out.
Well, and they theoretically have the ability to be resupplied.
But what I was saying is this was looking for a road to cut off any incoming supplies.
Oh, so you were thinking of like laying siege to the camp.
Kind of, but not exactly all at once. More of a prolonged kind of guerrilla style where we go in at first to try and destroy any food supply they have, retreat, wait for resupplying to come in, and then destroy those incoming supplies, and just keep that kind of tactic up.
Okay, so kind of, weaken them physically by starving them. Make
Essentially.
them much less effective in combat. Okay. So you have this idea. Where do you want to... I mean, do you want to just, guys, all have a powwow in the middle of town? Do you want to go back into the tavern? You want to go into one of you guys' rooms? What do you want to do?
I vote wherever we're not in direct sunlight.
The middle of town would not fit that particular description.
I vote with his ale.
And I vote for not the room that we got, the initial room of the, how we held that trinket out to the bartender and he just gave the key of a certain room?
The presidential suite?
Yeah, that one. I say not that one.
Okay. Alright.
So tavern it is then? Probably in... If there's enough room in Commander in my room.
Yeah.
The rooms themselves are not massive, but you can all fit into them without too much difficulty.
Alright.
Think, a double, a hotel room with 2 single beds. That kind of size. Not huge, but, if you guys sit on the beds and stuff like that, you have enough room to talk.
All right, we'll go up there unless anyone objects.
Okay, so you guys have head up there. Again, you guys can feel the fear from everybody around you, and you can hear whispers and people talking about, we're doomed and, they're just going to leave. You get up to the room, and the commander kind of outlines his plan that he just described.
I like it.
Only problem is because they have superior numbers, what would stop them from the overrunning us before we can start them out?
Well, I mean, the only thing is we have smaller numbers, so we're a little easier to hide. Granted, that's not the best idea or scenario, but I feel with the people we have amongst us, it'd be a lot easier for us to give them some sort of misleading or hiding from them than try and just hide out in the middle of nowhere.
Now, you guys also do have the advantage of, that they have to come in and clear all the people out of here. So you have the advantage of knowing where they have to go. So that also opens up setting up traps, pitfalls, things like that as well. Which you would know, Commander.
Yeah.
So weakening them, combination of weakening them and setting up traps will tip the scales a little bit. Other things that you guys can do to convince their numbers to get smaller will tip the, right now the scales are tipped so heavily outside of your favor that there's not a whole lot. Like, if it just is you against the army, you're going to lose. So you kind of have to come up with little things that are going to start chipping away at their biggest advantage, which is there's shit tons of them.
Honestly, if you start starving them out, my group was mostly known in Fenrish, but I might be able to convince a few over.
Yeah, either that
Hey,
or
we have food.
either that or we have. It'd probably take too long, but there's also the idea of bringing in our own sort of mercenaries from, if we could find any other kind of town outside here.
You would know just the sheer number of mercenaries that are there. If there are any mercenaries around, they've been hired.
That's what I figured. Okay.
Yeah.
I figured maybe there's like a C-list team that no one wanted. We could probably bring them in, but never mind.
No, you've seen the C-list team. That's one of the reasons you guys were able to get in and get so much information without almost anybody knowing you were there until you lit a huge tree on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our resident pyro.
From where we are to the camp, was there only one major road? Major road, or were there?
So there was the camp itself is basically off the trade route that goes, because Dorme itself is not really on a major trade route. So there's basically a road that goes out of Dorme that connects with a major road that goes between House Merovingian and Bloodscent Arena in Fenrish, and crosses the border probably about 20 miles north of where Dorme is. And then this mercenary camp is off of that road a few miles. Because, again, to move that many people, you go very, very slowly through heavily wooded areas and stuff like that. It's much easier to go on a road. So they're close enough that they can get to the road and then use the road to travel most of the way to Dorme, and then use the kind of like dirt road type thing that goes into Dorme itself.
Okay.
But Dorme has like basically there are 4 ways out of Dorme. One leads to that major trade route between Bloodscent and Merovingian. 2 of them just lead to farmland, and the other one leads further north and meets up with the trade route to Merovingian, between Merovingian and Bloodscent, just further north. So the southern exit is the one that you guys kind of took and saw the bad guys take on their way out. And then, again, the encampment is south of Dorme.
So I'm just worried of the idea of trapping. If we trap any of the big roads, that we inadvertently injure innocent people.
Yeah, that was what I was just about to think of. The only other way I can think of to trap would be the immediate road coming out of the camp before it hits the main road.
Yeah, and that's, again, relatively extensive. You're talking like a 3-4 hour journey from Dorme to the main road.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dorme is far enough off that people that travel the main road don't even know it exists.
And even we can still come back and disable anything once once all this goes over.
Again, nobody comes to Dorme other than the people that live in Dorme.
So why don't we start trying to figure out some ways to lay traps to coming into town from that encampment, and then we can go deal with somehow thinning the herd of this giant group.
Well, I had a thought on that. Whether we were inspired for them into the forest. I mean, when we know it harder to move along force through forward than it is straight land. And that might get us better what it was on.
There was this one trap that I found in a kobold lair once. It was rather ingenious. You dig a pit about 20 to 30 feet deep. At the bottom of the pit, you leave glass vials of oil so that when they hit it, they smash them and are covered in oil. And then Firebrand here lights it up.
Okay, you gotta wait to have it, Vala Raven.
Joy just radiating off of Vala.
You can't see it, but I am visibly disgusted under my hood.
And there's enough flammable things that you get. Like, I mean, obviously, lantern oil and stuff like that is flammable. So is, rendered fat. Like there's enough things that you guys could find that is definitely a viable option.
And I probably have that in my alchemy.
Yeah, anything that you guys would carry on your person would not be big enough to really affect a large group of people. You would need to get, a significant amount, like, kegs of oil in order to make something like that viable. I'm just saying that with a farming community, finding stuff like that's flammable, not hard.
We could convince
Grease fires
Colin.
work really well.
Could also convince Colin to help set up the traps. Just I won't be near you guys when that happens, just to keep him sane.
Good idea.
Yeah, it's probably the best idea. Also,
Yeah.
we need to make sure that we can get enough of them on top of this trap before it's triggered, or else they're just going to stop walking and we're going to get like 4 people.
What if we just have blatant, like, hunting traps out in the open for them to notice and veer the direction we want for our trap?
Try and herd them in.
Yeah, because they're obviously
Yeah.
going to avoid the one that they can see.
Hmm.
Although I'm worried, since there's not much animal life, that they would see that and think, oh, something's up.
Yeah.
Could be a shittily covered bear trap, like something that we tried to hide from them, but obviously wind or something messed it up, but we messed it up on purpose.
Or a really badly disguised hit. They hit me giant big hit, and the guys it really gory, so it'd be an obvious trap.
So diversionary tactics in general. Okay.
I can lure them into the trap with a song.
Please fall into my trap.
Wonderfully for Homer.
You
And I
don't
will- yeah.
notice that there's no ground there. All your friends are falling. But you don't notice that. You think they're just getting shorter.
I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I could probably use myself as bait, because I imagine there's some kind of bounty on my head.
Yeah, there would be.
But that's probably going to hurt in the long run.
It's probably not a huge, not a massive bounty, just due to the fact that you're more feared than, like, people are more afraid of you than they want to kill you. But yeah, there would probably be a bounty on your head. Sure.
Probably just walk in the camp and make them all retreat. I'm a brittle.
Yes, I am the Grand Pirate Lobus.
We are not Princess Brideing this.
I am here for your soul.
It's inconceivable.
Never get into a land roar in Sanguinius. Thud. Sorry, I have to get my Princess Bride references in.
Uh-huh.
It is,
As you wish.
that's a good one. You can take a point of inspiration for that.
Yay!
So, yeah, again, you guys, I've, to get a little bit out of character, out of DM here, I've given you guys technically an unwinnable situation. So, thinking outside the box, thinking about, if your goal is you want to kill all of these guys, you're going to fail. But that's not the only way that you can save this town, is by killing everybody off. So feel free to start thinking about your backgrounds, thinking about what they give you access to, think about your titles, and how that changes what these people are going to think of you. And remember, these guys, you also found out through Preach that they have a timetable. So theoretically, you don't have to kill them, and you don't have to actually stop them. You just have to delay them so that the timetable runs out. So doing things like starving them, doing things like putting traps that, get set on fire. These are all things that are great ideas. Going and scaring some of them away. Again, anything that's going to lessen the force, make them less willing to fight immediately, are all going to work in your favor.
Question. When we were there, did we see, was it all, like, okay, so were the barracks, what do you want to call it, for these mercenaries, were they multiple big ones? Were they a bunch of little individual
Tents.
tents?
They were mostly, you would see these groupings of tents around large bonfires.
Okay.
And you saw enough to think that there was roughly around, as far as like mercenaries, there was roughly around 100. And then there was that big tent where the noble was, and then you saw, you would have seen one other bigger tent, which is probably where Mordecai stays, and probably his personal mercenaries, the ones that he works with the most, the really tough guys, would probably stay in that kind of larger tent. But the entire thing is just tents. It's meant to be mobile, so.
Did we see what they use for transport? Like, are they using horses? Are they using...
Roll me a history check, because you guys didn't actually look for that when you were there. So we'll see if you remember seeing it as you were going through. 12. Okay, so thinking back, you did find it a little bit odd. You saw a few horses. You didn't see hundreds of horses. Because 100 horses takes, not only does it take, an area to stable them, it also takes additional food and water for them. And they have to be kept away from everybody else because, defecation and stuff like that will ruin food and stuff like that. So you guys don't remember seeing a ton of horses. You saw a few, maybe half a dozen while you were traveling, or while you were examining the fort, but you did not see a giant stable or anything like that.
I do, with my background, Commander, and honestly, these past years I'm more used to working alone. I'm known for killing things alone. I think I could scare them away.
I just had an idea of what if we sent maybe you and Henri in the middle of the night to individual tents to try and sort of lay seeds in individuals and then have it spread to multiple people and kind of start scaring them away.
That might work better on patrols, not tents per se. That's in the camp.
I was just going to ask Agenta, you've been in mercenary camps before. Would it be unusual for a traveling bard to show up at a camp and try to play some songs for some coin?
Traveling bard is not known, maybe, but I think you're kind of known.
Mordecai's seen your face as well.
Well, he's seen this face, but I have others.
I get that would probably work, but not as well as you think.
It is relatively far off the beaten path, like the camp itself. So somebody accidentally showing up there, not outside the realm of reason, but you're relatively certain that you would have to answer some questions, especially since they're already a little bit on edge from the fact that you guys are fighting them, and Mordecai wasn't able to scare you guys off. So it's an idea. It will require some rolls from a mechanical standpoint. It will require some rolls to keep you from getting attacked.
All right.
I mean, I know earlier we talked about trying to keep them up at night as well.
Yeah, sleep deprivation, very useful.
But you can play loud music while they're trying to sleep and do this.
my music is somewhat soothing, not necessarily. I don't have my amps with me to try to blast them. My song.
So what you're saying is you need thaumaturgy.
If I had thaumaturgy, I could keep them awake. If you want me to keep people awake, I think tents bursting into flames in the middle of the night unexpectedly would make
Again, we continue to get back to this idea of fire solving everything.
I'm also from an area where, and this area borders Fenrish. I could mimic the marks of a werewolf in the surrounding forest. Try and scare them off that way.
Yeah, it's not unheard of for werewolves to cross the border. This close to the border of Fenrish. If you go another, 30 so miles in, you will never see a werewolf. But you guys are right on the border, so that would not be something that would be outside the realm of reason.
At the very least, create illusions, and I'll just do silent image of a werewolf. I can just keep this going whenever I want.
I could also make myself look like a werewolf, a small werewolf, but.
Or we should give Valeraven a cowbell.
Preacher, have you ever converted anybody to your belief of non-vampire rule?
I think she may have had to step away, go to the bathroom.
Preach is uncharacteristically silent as she contemplates her place in the world. And will probably remain that way until she tells us she's back.
So all my ideas would come from you guys, because I'm not from the same walk of life as you.
However, you did, even with the Blood Knight Guard that you guys captured, even his dead spirit that you brought back was obviously afraid of you. And that's going to be a mark higher than your standard mercenary.
Yeah.
So if we come across some hunting parties, we just introduce them to Henri. They will wet themselves and go running away.
Won't be the first time.
That is excellent. The fewer people we have to kill, the better.
You guys do notice Preach seems to have come out of her trance meditation and seems a little bit more alert than she was previously.
I'm sorry. I will try to keep my talk of fire to a minute.
They tried asking you a question a little bit ago, and they're like, "Yeah, she's not here right now. She's deep in thought."
Sorry.
Preach, have you ever converted anybody to your belief of non-vampire rule?
I have convinced a lot of people in my head.
Vive la revolution!
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm in a revolution of one person, but I'm going to win. Maybe.
For what it's worth,
Maybe don't need conversion.
Yeah, I mean, it's time for the vampires to go away. It's time. It's beyond time. All offense to you, Henri. All offense.
At this point, I'm just making the image of the werewolf doing Thriller, like instantly tuning her out.
I'm joining in at this point, if that's going on.
Honestly,
I pull out my.
I can dig this
You guys
pit
have
during...
stopped making your war plans, and you're just doing the Thriller music video now.
Oh my god, guys.
You just need a necromancer.
We just need to stroll into camp.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
do a Thriller. And it'll scare
Hey,
them
I'm
all.
down for that.
Uh-huh.
I'm down for that plan.
If you want me to help dig the pit during the day, and then once the sun
Well,
goes
that was
down...
going to be the next question: is to make a pit large enough. First of all, how many people would you want to be able to fall in this pit?
Oh, I'd say we need at least to make to even get a chance. We have to knock at least 25, 30 in there.
Okay. So
Yeah.
for 25, 30 people to fall into a pit, you're going to need probably at least 10 feet wide,
Yeah.
probably 30 feet long. So this is going to be a substantial pit. It doesn't, because the bad thing from it is going to be them bursting into flames, it doesn't need to be incredibly deep, but moving that much earth, unless you guys happen to have magical means of doing it, is going to take a fair amount of labor. So
We could also get the farmers to help us too.
yes, and that was going to be my next thing, is you have people that have claimed that they want to help. You have some people that have claimed that they're willing to learn how to fight and defend that way. You have other people that have no combat abilities but still want to help out. So don't forget, you have this resource of basically free labor and bodies.
Mike. But at the moment they are terrified, free labor and bodies. I think I should go do something about that. And I will walk out and I will start playing some. I'm going to start off slow, but then start building into more like rabble-rousing tunes to try to start livening up people's spirits.
Okay, go ahead and make me a performance check.
While he's doing that, would we know ballpark how many access to how many like wagons or just vehicles with wheels as much as possible?
How many do you want?
Enough to
again,
block.
these are all farmers. The way that they make their living is they create enough stuff for them to live off of, and then they ship the rest of it somewhere. So probably every single farm has at least one wagon, if not a couple.
25.
25. All right, so you guys see Valeraven just kind of walk out, and then you start hearing from downstairs some music, and it starts getting a little bit upper, and you start hearing people clapping along and stuff like that, and it eventually turns into the party from Titanic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
And eventually a couple of the farmer people start getting out their own improvised instruments. Somebody's playing spoons, somebody's playing an improvised drum. They're beating on the bar. They're having a great time.
But doesn't even have a cowbell.
Yes, there are multiple cowbells being used. There's a man in the back that just keeps saying, "I've got a fever. The only cure is more cowbell."
I go to the commander and I before he goes out and says anything, I just say, "I'll help you dig the pit, but do you want me to start the scaring tonight?"
Oh, we're here, so that's a day's travel to the camp, so probably not tonight.
I'm not going the full way if I do.
Yeah. Probably not tonight. We need everybody here for as much time as we can get to get these traps, because I'm assuming we're trying to do multiple traps.
The traps
ready.
themselves, you have enough labor that you can leave it to them.
Okay.
So you guys have come up with the idea. You can use them to set the traps. If you want to also have people that are going to actually fight, someone is going to have to train them. So that will take time and a couple rolls to see how well you train them. But digging pits, these guys know how to dig pits.
I do have a question.
Sure.
As far as so we're trying to hide these pits. I'm assuming we're going to use like maybe wood or some type of like a support structure that would hold just enough weight to hold maybe like 30 people before it collapses. Would I know exactly how much that needs to hold, like also to hold dirt so no one gets suspicious and be able to collapse just the right weight?
From your own personal knowledge, you are not incredibly well versed in construction.
Okay.
However, all of these farms, all their barns and everything, these guys built them themselves.
So they would know. Kind of.
You again, it'll take a few rolls to find somebody that is knowledgeable enough that they could do this. But again, this town is a resource for you, so
Yeah.
don't forget that you can use it as a resource.
And Commander,
Yes.
we should probably also try and block the road with as many wagons as we can. Because if they're going to have to, if they travel by any means other than foot, they're going to be coming through this road, right?
Yeah.
And that way it could act as a funnel for where we want them to go.
Yeah. But I mean, my feeling is that if it's the army's large enough, they'll just move whatever it is in the way.
It'll at least slow them down, because what was the
Yeah.
timetable we were working with?
4 weeks.
I thought I said 3.
Or 3, sorry.
Is there anybody in town that has like animals, a ranch, something like that?
This is farmland.
Yes. I'm gonna go ask around and see if I can find anybody that has an animal they'd be willing to sell me, one that's like ready for slaughter or something.
Yeah, there's probably a couple people that raise livestock for slaughter. You're probably not going to find something large like a cow or anything like that, but probably sheep.
The sheep will work.
Just because you can breed them in pretty large amounts and get a hefty amount of meat and wool and all these other stuff from them. So yeah, you can find that.
Okay.
For a whole sheep, it's going to cost you.
How much?
Depends on how well you negotiate. That'll be an actual conversation that we have.
All right.
If you're leaving right now, we can have that conversation. Otherwise, if you guys are still planning, you can finish planning first.
Quick question, Commander. I know the main player that you fireworks in the class, but do we maybe want to add spikes at the bottom as well?
That is an option. We could do that, but I was worried that maybe, now that we know that the town can help, I mean, I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that. At first, I was worried we wouldn't have time, but now that we know we're pretty certain the town's going to help, we can just tack that on. I wanted to go look and try and find a person that would know structural integrity and things like that for this weight.
So if there's any other planning that you guys want to do right now, you can. Otherwise, Vala is basically your opening act. She's getting everyone pepped and everything. When you come down, Commander, they're going to expect you to say something because you have kind of been viewed as the unofficial leader here. So
okay,
I will just, being uncomfortable in groups of people, I'm just going to go to the town hall where the guiding beacon shrine was.
Okay. And you're able. Do you want to just walk through, or do you want to slip out unnoticed?
I'll just walk through. I'm
Okay.
no reason to hide.
So while Valeraven is getting everyone peppy, the outcast walks through, and everything dies down for a couple seconds while he's walking through, and then everyone gets happy again once he's gone. You just have this effect on people. So, anything else before you guys head downstairs?
Who do we want training the people who are willing to fight? I mean, from my limited experience with everyone. and see when the boat rider along, it would be me or Jessica or you, Commander.
I'm sorry, what? I
Well, he was Lillian was basically asking who's going to train,
I
if
figured
anyone, who's going to stay back and train, and basically because of your skills, it would probably be Argenta, Lillian, or the commander would be able to teach people just basic fighting. Preach with your specific skill set. If you wanted to train a much smaller force, you could teach some more underhanded fighting techniques.
You mean a Legion of Shadows?
They would not quite be. They would not quite be. Full on rogue type. But you could teach a few people, how to use a dagger, how to make cuts that don't stop bleeding, things like that. But because that is very specialized training, instead of just teaching them how to swing a sword, you would not be able to train as large a group, or it would take you significantly longer to train a large group. However, again, people
I'd be
that
willing
know
to
how
do that.
Okay. So you have Preach willing to train a small group of people to be very deadly. Argenta, Commander, Lillian, do any of you guys want to train fighters in general? Do you guys want to just everyone that's not being trained by Preach working on the pit?
Oh, I figured we could split the town, I guess, into groups, and then the three of us, each of us, like Argenta, Lillian, and myself, have a group that we train, and then we can knock it out a little faster, getting a larger portion of people trained.
Okay.
Overall.
Now, it's going to take days minimum to dig
Yeah,
this
that's what I
pit.
figured.
And if scouts or anything from the mercenary camp start coming, they will find out your plan immediately. It's going to be very, very difficult to disguise that you're digging a big old hole.
Yeah.
So you may want, as much as they keep
it.
saying, don't split the party, you may want to send some people to harass the camp to keep them occupied, while others stay in town to train and prepare.
Maybe
Henri.
we send the Pyro and Henri.
I kind of.
I just want to point out that we're both not in the room when you guys are having a conversation.
You'll both be informed of that later.
I did have a little that thing that I mentioned about the werewolf. I was going to buy a sheep and drain its blood, and when I set up the attraction.
If you guys send Argenta, Vala, and Henri to harass, that leaves Lillian, Preach, and Commander to prep the town. And you're not splitting the party too bad, where if you guys do get into a sticky situation, nobody's alone.
Yeah, because they got muscle with Argenta at least.
I think it's a strong plan.
Okay.
At least it's a start.
Yeah.
All right. So, Commander kind of gets up, heads downstairs. Commander, as you come downstairs, Vala kind of sees you come down and gets to the end of the song, and everybody applauds for a little bit. And Vala,
I finish singing off my song. I've got friends in Dormaeus.
Okay.
to the tutor, friends in low places.
Gotcha.
Oh, good lord.
And then Vala kind of looks, and Commander, you realize everyone is now staring at you expectantly. You can still feel that little bit of fear because they haven't forgotten about Mordecai. Mordecai is well known. So there's still that little bit of fear. But Vala has given them a little hope has distracted them for a little bit, and now they're looking for you for answers, for something that tells them they're not all going to die.
I made my way over next to Vala, stand next to her.
Okay.
And you just look around at the group, how much of the town is in here? How big of a group of people?
You've got a majority of the town.
Okay.
Vala, when they heard about Mordecai, they sent people running out to the various farms and stuff like that. And then Vala's been playing for a little bit, and you guys have been planning for a little bit. Like this whole plan and everything that you guys, this is probably an hour's worth of planning.
Okay.
And then Vala probably had herself a nice 15-minute set. So, an open mic night, but...
One last thing. As the commander gets up there to start singing, I'm going to start playing like some military, like march, like some heroic music in the background. And I'm going to use that as him an inspiration.
Battle hymn of the... Okay, so you have an inspiration.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That was Battle Hymn of the Republic, for those you don't know.
Is it a D6?
Yes, it is a D6 for me.
I'll say, please don't start playing chops. That's all I ask.
It's really hard to play chops on a... Oh, wait, chops. What is chops?
Or what is it, the one that's for the funeral?
No stairway.
Oh, taps.
Taps, sorry.
Right, I think I have lost Argenta. Give me 2 seconds here. I'm just going to reconnect.
I've lost Argenta too.
Argenta doesn't love us. Argenta doesn't need to say anything in this part. It's mostly the commander.
Okay.
So we'll wait for Argenta to come back.
All right.
There she is. All right. So, Commander, they're looking at you. Vala is playing this very stately march.
I'll just look around.
Taps would be a horrible thing to play at this
point. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying that.
I know I'm dark, but I'm not that dark.
Okay, Pyro.
Wow.
You could always play the national anthem of the USSR. That was pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
You can go with the French national anthem is always fun.
Isn't that like 20 minutes long?
The French or the USSR one?
The French.
Mm-mm.
No. It's just most people know it because it's the beginning of for no reason whatsoever. All You Need Is Love starts with the French national anthem. The ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum 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 ba. And I used to know the French. I used to know the words to that. But yes, so it's quick musical fact. Most national songs or national anthems are marches. Yeah, they're done that normally because they're used to inspire their troops. So
to march into battle.
Yeah, the only one the British are weird in theirs because theirs is a dirge. Which is really, really weird. God Save the Queen is this really, really slow minor key.
Huh.
It's weird. I don't know if you've never heard God Save the Queen. We adapted it in the U.S. Let freedom ring, land where my father died, land where the pilgrims plied. On my countryside, let freedom ring. It's the same song. We stole a lot of stuff from the UK.
Wow,
anyway.
Yeah, we're getting on topic.
Sorry, music geek here.
Yeah, right.
So, Commander, they're looking at you.
So I look at the crowd, realizing and noticing that they're mostly kind of either really scared or just kind of resigned to the fact that this probably isn't going to work. But I'll say I realize the odds are stacked against us severely, in most sense, but I think this group of people here were brought here for a reason, and we've got some pretty great ideas. We need your help to get these in order, though. So don't give up on us. We'll pull you guys through all this.
Okay. And I believe her name was Abigail. If someone wants to remind me, Abigail goes,
Yep.
"He's right. We can do this." Commander, go ahead and roll me a persuasion check with advantage.
Okay.
You have a bardic inspiration.
I'll add that too, I'm sure. Where am I? Oh, okay. That would.
427. I'm a rogue.
I rolled a natural 19, so that's 19 plus, because I rolled the bardic inspiration, but I got a 5. So 19 plus 9.
28.
28. Yeah.
They seem unmoved. No, they get really into it. You really seem to inspire them. You start talking specifics, and you kind of explain what's going on, and you start kind of splitting off people into groups. The people that seem to have the least, the dumb ones, you send them off and have them start digging the pit. Commander, you specifically take some time to ask around about who is the most knowledgeable about, building and structural integrity and things like that, and find somebody to deal with that. Preach, you go around. I'd like you to roll an insight check for me.
Okay.
Looking for the sneaky ones.
One of
Is
the
it
ones-
insight?
Yep. The ones that have less moral.
23.
Sure. So looking around, you find a few people that you think probably would not have as much of a problem fighting dirty.
The no moral compass people.
Yeah. Or at least the moral compass that doesn't always point north. And you find a group of roughly about half a dozen people that you think will work pretty well. And used in the correct way, that can be with the right training, that can be a very, very significant amount of damage. So you find them and you take them off. Lillian, you were going to train as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to have you make me a perception check.
Ooh. 10.
Okay. So looking around, you try and find of the people that are left over. You try and find a good enough group that you think will be able to handle a sword, will be able to handle the specific style of fighting that you're going to be teaching, which requires a little bit more finesse than it does just raw brute strength. You find about a dozen people that you can start training. And then the rest of them are going to be heading to help dig this pit. Commander, you are able to find someone after Liliana and Preach kind of take their people off. You are able to find someone who basically kind of describes this idea of stretching tent canvas across a kind of a grid of branches and things like that, with a few more solid pieces of lumber taken from some houses and stuff like that. That can actually be rigged to a rope that can just be yanked when it's necessary, and it'll be able to hold the weight of easily be able to hold the weight of 20, 30 people until the rope is pulled and the main support beam gets dislodged, and then everything falls.
I like this guy.
It does mean there will have to be someone nearby, near-ish. I mean, you can get a 50-foot rope and cover it in dirt so no one can see it. But there will be someone that'll have to pull it. Yeah, he's like, yeah, we can build it. It's going to take the better part of a day to build it, and then it'll take probably half a day to install it over this pit and cover it with dirt and everything like that, so it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's going to need some help, basically, cutting branches, stripping them, tying them together, stuff like that. So
Okay.
you assign a few of the wiser people that were going to be digging to help him. So yeah, all of that stuff gets started.
Buying the sheep.
Yeah. So you go and you find somebody who's like, oh, what brings the lone wolf to my farm?
I was wondering if you had any sheep you were willing to sell. One that's good for slaughter. Will be of use to us.
Well, I have a few. I was planning on taking to Merovingian eventually, see what kind of a price I could get for them. What might you be offering? I mean, this is my livelihood. It's how I feed my family.
I'm willing to pay you, sir. This, you see, if this succeeds, I think we'll be staying in town a bit, and I need the blood, the meat, and the skin. I can leather for you, and you'll have leather, and you can salt the meats, or we could have it for a feast for the town, and I pull out my leatherworker's kit because I actually am trained in leatherworking.
Okay.
And I say, but yes.
As you pull out your leatherworking kit, he points over to his tanning racks.
Yes, I can, presuming that everything works.
Showing that he knows,
yeah,
he knows how to do that too.
I figured.
Yeah.
I'm just but I'm willing to pay you. I have plenty of coin.
The question is, how much are you willing to pay me?
Do I know how much sheep go for? Traveling a lot.
Roll me a history check.
Straight roll. Here we go. 12.
12. You have never bought a sheep before.
I've never bought a sheep before.
Mutton is relatively common around the area to find in bars and things like that. It's not a very expensive meat. And lamb is a meat generally reserved for the aristocracy. So mutton is like older sheep, whereas lamb is, it's like the difference between, steak and veal.
Can I insight check him?
Sure.
Shouldn't be amazing. It's anywhere from an 8 to a 10.
He looks intent on hearing what you're going to offer for his sheep.
How does 50 gold sound?
And he gets this kind of pained look in his eye.
I don't know how much a sheep is worth.
And he starts, doing things and going, well, this is my family, and I know you're trying to protect the town and everything, but it's just... I might be able to let it go for 80 gold.
I just like stick my hand out, deal.
All right.
Yeah.
You get
Two-
a decent sized sheep,
Okay.
heavy enough that you're not going to carry it back. You're going to lead it back.
Yeah. I'm
Not that you
basically
can't lift it up. It's just not something you want to carry on your back.
I'm basically going to lead it most of the way back to town, and because I figure that we're going to start heading out to harass the camp
Okay.
soon, I'm going to, do the whole slaughtering and collecting the blood using like vials that I've kept on myself over time and whatnot.
Okay. So you're able to go to you can actually use the back room of the tavern, because they slaughter animals there all the time.
Okay.
So they give you kind of use of that. The whole process itself. Roll me a survival check.
Survival. That is a 17.
All right. The whole process itself takes roughly about 10, 15 minutes. You're very familiar with how to field strip an animal, and so you do, and you bleed the animal, and you collect, a majority of the blood. Obviously, you don't get all of it, but the majority of the blood, and you harvest whatever organs or anything else that you need for it. The whole transaction itself takes like 30 minutes from you leaving to go get it to you finishing the slaughter and everything.
Okay, and then after everything's done, I head back, and I'm like, looking around, finding Henri and Vala. I'm just like, I'm ready when you are.
Vala, Henri, are there anything you guys want to do before you head off? Any prep work you want to make?
Just praying that I don't die doing something stupid.
Okay. So if you do die, it should be something cool. Gotcha.
Yes.
I just take a few moments to sit and say a few prayers
All right.
with a candle.
Since I see them do that, I pull out my dagger, flip it to the side with the raging dervish, and I kiss it and put it back.
Okay. So you guys all head out. What I'm going to have you guys do is, while you three are traveling, you other three are going to be training. So the traveling itself is fairly uneventful. So we are going to start. Commander, what are you kind of just overseeing everything, or is there something specific you want to do now that you've taken care of the trap and everything like that? Is there anything else you want to be doing, or just kind of overseeing and making sure everything is going and working?
I mean, I would do occasional check-ins just to make sure everything's up to where it needs to be, but I also wanted to help train people with, if they don't already know, but using like a longbow or using like maybe a long sword or something like that.
Okay, make me a perception check.
Perception. Oh, nice. Natural 19 again. 25.
Okay, so you pick out a couple people that, including Colin, who you know is already very, very skilled with a longbow.
Mm-hmm.
You pick out a couple people that you think would probably make good archers, and they're able. There are enough bows and things in the town that everyone is able to get that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have you guys do some skills challenges to see how well you train your troops. So
Okay.
I'm going to start with the commander first.
Of course. Okay.
So you get your about a dozen people, including Colin. There, some of them are holding the bow wrong. Some of them have already started like pulling back on the bowstring and then just letting it go, which damages the bow. And then some of them are actually holding it correctly and things like that. So, how do you want to start this training? Like, what is the first step you want to take? Do you want to set up dummies for them to shoot at? Do you want? I mean, how do you want to do this?
Very much men in tights as much as I can.
So you get you ask Valeraven to come back and start playing for you. No. All right. So what do you want to do?
Essentially, what you were saying, set up some just hay dummies or hay stacks in general.
Okay.
Paint a target on them, and then watch them as they hold it. Watch them as they draw the bow, and fix little nuances to try and get them to aim and hold their bow arm, what's holding the bow as straight as possible, and things like that.
Okay. So to start off with, I'm going to have you make me an agility check, just straight up agility.
Is that just Dex?
Dex, sorry.
Right.
I've been running a different system.
Dex.
Just flat
Eight.
Dex.
Flat Dex, 17.
17. Okay. So for the next couple of hours, you sit there. You show them how to hold the bow. You show them how to draw it back, how to look down the arrow on that, and then you basically just watch them aiming and firing for a couple of hours and keep correcting them. And they seem to be getting it a little bit better to the point where it now looks like they know which way to point the bow. And how to make the arrows go in the general direction that they want. Now that that's happened, do you want to change up your tactics or anything? Do you want to add more things to it to prepare them for different scenarios? What do you want to do? You still have. Basically, I'm going to say you guys are going to be training for about 6 hours, and then giving them 2 hours to train on their own for a full day of training. So.
I would have them start training at different distance increments,
Okay.
just so that way they know, they get a good idea of, being able to judge distance and know how much of a elevation the arrow needs to be at in order to hit that area.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me a straight intelligence check.
15.
15. Okay, so you now start getting them to move back and move forward and things like that. And again, another 2 hours-ish pass, and they start getting a little bit better at this. They're starting to understand things better. Colin is even has kind of been trading with them, and you could see he was less than thrilled just about how bad these guys were when they started, and now they're getting almost to the point of competence. You've got 2 hours left. Is there anything else you want to do to kind of change up the training, give them any more insight or anything like that? Teach them tactics. What do you want to do?
Oh, dang. Okay. I was going to say have them start increasing speed, but I changed my mind because I was thinking actually No, I'll do that. I'll just have them start increasing their speed of how fast they can. Not going so fast they lose any. How much I say that? They sacrifice their ability to hit the target, but also push them enough so they're starting to get better and better and starting to be able to.
Okay.
Almost as muscle memory, reach back, grab the arrow, pull it out, aim, and fire, and not
Gotcha.
really.
Charisma check for me.
Ugh, really? Okay. All right. Hey, 14.
14. Okay. So you you start riding them a little bit harder now. Now that they understand what they're doing, you're riding them a little bit harder. You're like again, faster, and they get decent. They're firing relatively quickly. They're hitting the target on average about half the time. They're hitting a they're hitting the actual target instead of just, hay or overshooting or undershooting, things like that. Which for people who couldn't shoot at the beginning of the day is not bad. And then the final 2 hours will be, they'll get some dinner, and they'll have time to themselves to train however they want. So that was your day. Now we're going to go over to Preach.
Hey, yo.
So Preach, you've got your group of about 6 people.
Okay.
You know that their moral compass doesn't always point north. What do you want to start with?
I actually want to start with stealth.
Okay.
And making them super quiet.
All right. Go ahead and roll me a. Yeah, I'm gonna have you actually roll me a stealth check.
25.
25. Yeah, I should have figured that one. You kind of start off by showing them you basically kind of disappearing from one place and appearing in another place, and then you kind of work backwards over the next couple hours, showing, okay, I ran up this wall here, I moved between these here, I used this to distract you here, and this slight, this kind of visual sleight of hand where I'm controlling where you guys are looking and you're not looking at me. And they get a little bit better. They seem relatively competent at staying in the shadows and not being seen until they need to be. So that takes about 2 hours, next 2 hours.
I want to do getting the drop on somebody and literal backstabbing.
Okay. So this time I'm going to have you roll me a straight wisdom check.
Natural 20.
Damn. All right. So what is your wisdom modifier, by the way?
2.
2. So it's a 22 total. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next thing you do is as they're kind of hiding and everything like that, you flip your blade around so that you're holding it backwards, and out of nowhere, you go up to someone, throw some dirt in their eyes, spin around, and literally stab them in the back, right where their, I think, kidney would be. But you hit them with the pommel of your dagger. Is that what you use?
Yeah.
Yeah. You hit them with the pommel of your dagger instead of putting the dagger into them, so they can feel exactly where you hit them. And it takes a few minutes for him to get the dust out of his eyes and everything like that. And you see him kind of rubbing, because you hit him hard. But he kind of realizes what it was that you just did. And then you very kind of slowly, again, work your way backwards of, okay, these are the areas that if you poke them with something sharp, either they're going to not stop bleeding, or they're going to cause significant damage that prevents the target from doing something. So you show them, how to stab the liver, how to stab the kidneys, how to hamstring somebody. A few places, like you show them where some of the easier to reach arteries are. They seem to take pretty well to it. Again, this is it's very, very delicate, intricate work. So only having a day or so, or 2 hours in this case, they're not going to be masters at it, but they get to the point where they're fairly regularly hitting the spots where you want them to. You got 2 hours more. What do you want to do for your last set of training?
I guess for the last 2 hours, I'll just do general dirty fighting and trying to get the higher ground and staying out of sight types of things.
Okay, make me an intelligence roll.
That would be a 15.
15. Okay. So you sit there and you kind of bring up the dirt that you threw in the guy's eyes before, and you kind of walk up to him and mentions like, okay, so you know that I can do that. You're gonna avoid letting me do that, right? He's like, yeah, of course I am. I'm not gonna let you do that to me twice. You're like, absolutely, that makes perfect sense to me. And then you step on his instep and watch him collapse. And as he hits the ground, you again take your dagger out and you strike him in the throat with it, right around where the is it the jugular? Is that up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, right around where the jugular would be. So as he hits the ground, he's coughing and spitting, and he's crying out in pain because you just crushed his toe. And you kind of turn to everyone. And it's like, so dirt in the eyes works really well to blind them, but there are a lot of different things that you can do to disable the target to make it easier for you to make the killing blow. And you just start teaching them all of the dirty tricks. Running, kicking the shins, kicking, guys in the balls, any dirty trick you can think of, eye gouges, fish hooks, all the stuff that, you would normally get in trouble, you're teaching them all of it. And they seem okay. They don't seem like they're taking quite as well to this lesson as the other ones that you have. But they seem to learn a couple. Each person learns their own personal one that they like the most. And then, they go off to get dinner and train on their own for a little while. So
Good job, team.
So that was your day. Probably intermixed with, oh, by the way, vampires are horrible.
Of course.
Every 5 minutes. Lilianne, you have your group of people. It looks like you got lucky enough that all of them are holding the sword by the right end. Beyond that, you see a lot of people with really bad grips. You see a lot of people that are, already starting to swing the sword, and they're swinging it really, really poorly, where they're going to pull muscles or they're telegraphing. Like, it's just, this is a band of people that have never picked up a sword before in their lives. So how do you want to start this?
Talk about with my group and
Things that don't cut.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And the basic swinging out use it without telegraphing.
Okay. Because they're going to make quite a few mistakes, I'm going to have you make me a Constitution check.
Okay.
So you start off by basically dueling with someone, and as you duel with him, you're doing your best to do things slowly and teach them step by step how each move goes, and he keeps hitting you. Not on swings, where you would be defending and stuff, where you were a swordsman. You know how to use a sword. You know how to block a sword. No, he keeps hitting you after you drop your guard and go, okay, you should be swinging it more this way. And as you do that, he just would overextend and smack you in the head. And this goes on for a little while. And so for your first 2 hours or so, you don't really feel like they're learning a ton. But by the end of the 2 hours, you have gotten through the lesson of this is how you hold the sword. This is how you swing the sword. They're holding it the right way now. I mean, it's better than nothing. Next 2 hours, what are you going to do?
Probably with a black and culture.
Okay. Make me a straight dex check.
11.
11. Okay, this goes a little bit better. You kind of impress on them after them seeing you, like you now have a split lip. You've got some bruises and things like that on your face, on your arms and stuff like that. You are able to kind of impress upon them the fact that in a fight, it is significantly more useful for you to avoid getting hit than it is for you to hit your opponent, because it only takes one good hit to end a fight. So you spend the next 2 hours teaching them various modes of blocking, parries, ripostes, things like that, and getting their defensive skills up so that they can survive long enough to actually hit somebody. They're still using sticks and broom handles.
Yeah.
Last 2 hours, what are you going to do?
I'll figure, target.
Okay.
So maybe I make like 3 dummies that surround it, one or something like that.
Makes sense. Roll me an intelligence check.
18.
All right. So the next thing you mention to them is that they're going to be massively outnumbered. They're probably not going to be fighting one-on-one with anyone. And so you start teaching them techniques for controlling multiple combatants at the same time. And you also bring up the fact that the people that you're fighting are not used to fighting as a group. They're random mercenaries. So you bring up the idea that there's a good chance they are going to be more dangerous to each other than they are to you. Because it takes skill to fight with another person, and it takes planning and practice. And so you teach them a couple different ways to kind of influence the fight through footwork, through sword strikes and things like that, so that the enemy is as dangerous to each other as they are to the men. And this is where they start to really kind of tune into what you're saying. They enjoyed beating the crap out of you and watching you get slapped around. And then the whole blocking thing made sense to them. But again, they were very much kind of overwhelmed with the idea. It's like, okay, well, yeah, but if we can never hit them. But this whole idea of you don't actually have to hit them, they may kill each other. They like this. And they really kind of take like this like a duck to water. And you see them really getting much, much better with being able to control. They break off into groups of 3 where 2 people will fight 1. And then they break off into 2 groups of 6 where you'd have 2 people being taken on by 4. And they start getting really, really good at it. And as kind of a side effect, they also get pretty good at working together and knowing how not to be a danger to each other.
Yeah.
And then for the last 2 hours, they put the broomsticks down and they actually start using swords, so they can get a feel for the weight and everything like that.
Yeah.
So that was your day. By the end of the day, about half the pit has been dug. They've just about finished the cover for it, and the people that were working on the cover tomorrow are already starting to plan on, making spikes, other sharp things that can be at the bottom that these people can land on before they are incinerated. So that's you guys. Argenta, Valraven, Henri. You guys spend the day traveling, and because there's only 3 of you and you know where you're going, you arrive quicker than you did before. And by nightfall, you guys have arrived at the camp. So while these guys are going to be getting some rest and, you guys now have you guys have a camp in front of you. So, what do you guys want to do?
Argenta.
What I'm gonna do is, if any patrols come by, I'll be there. My thing should come last.
Okay.
I was gonna say, the whole way we were walking to the camp, just to solidify his idea that there's a werewolf, I would be using silent image to just make quickly like the image of a werewolf just darting in front of us, so that if someone happens to see it, they'll think, "Oh, I happened to see a werewolf earlier."
So and it's also practice for you, you know, getting good at creating this image and making it dart out of trees and disappear where it needs to and appear where it needs to. So, so you make it to the camp. You don't find any patrols on your way there, but you do notice the camp itself is a little bit more lively than you remembered before. You can see people sharpening weapons. You can see people, mending armor and things like that. It looks like they're getting ready for an attack, probably relatively soon. Though with the size of the group, it's hard to gauge how quickly they would be leaving. But so you guys can see it. You guys are far enough away that you can see they have started sending patrols out to patrol not only this side of the river but the other side of the river. You guys can still see the area that Vala set aflame before. So they do send patrols out regularly, where there's always a patrol out somewhere around the camp to make sure that you guys can't do what you did before. So knowing this information, what do you guys want to do?
What do we have at our disposal? I know you like fire, and you're still an enigma, but you're drow. You like the night. In fact, this is the drow team.
Yeah.
Go Team Drow. All right, so here's how we're
I was not
going to
aware we had
backstab.
split the teams racially, but you know.
Humans and drow, yeah.
All right, so here's how we're going to backstab the preacher. I mean, wait a minute.
I'd like to see you try.
My group is just
How far?
has just descended to racial cleansing. Excellent. That's exactly what I want in my D&D game.
How far away are the patrols from where we currently are?
The patrol that's out currently is on the west side of the camp, and it's going to move from the west and kind of circle around all the way to the east. And then the river is kind of runs diagonally at the northwest end of side of the camp. So they start at the river's edge, go out about, a few hundred yards, and then circle all the way around the camp, and then come back in.
Okay. So the closest point that the patrols would be at to us, how far away would they be?
From where you guys are right now, they would probably go through the spot that you're in right now.
Okay.
Because they're going far enough out that they're going to find just about anyone that can see the camp, which is the entire purpose of them going out.
Do you want me to go ahead?
Oh, I was gonna say, would I know if sound would echo really well in this area? Or if I, made a loud noise, would it be obvious where it was coming from, is what I'm asking.
You probably would not. Argenta might, because the ability to locate something by sound is a training thing, and technically anyone can learn how to do it. Argenta would be able would probably be the person with the most knowledge of mercenaries and training to be able to guess whether or not these guys would be adept enough to be able to do that. So if you want to ask Argenta...
Yes, so Argenta,
Hmm.
if I were to, say, create the image of this giant werewolf, and then we make it howl really, really loud, and then just dart in a direction when it's been spotted, how easy would it be for them to determine where it came from? Because I could do that on the hour, every hour, so that they do not get sleep.
Can I kind of like think about it.
That would be an insight check for you, Argenta.
Insight. Let's use the critical roll die. Good. 10.
10. You think these guys are probably not going to be highly trained? Probably the ones that are in the scouting party are going to know where the sound is coming from. The rest of the people, and that's probably why they were chosen for the scouts or the patrols.
Gotcha.
I mean, the ones in the ones in the camp probably less likely to know exactly where it's coming from, unless you make it very obvious. If your goal is to get them to look in a certain direction, it will be much easier to trick the regular populace than it's going to be the patrols.
Okay. I relay that to you, Andre.
So maybe I just stick with the silent part of my image.
Well, if they look like they're coming, this will be an area they're going to come through. I could set up the mess.
Yeah, I would probably start setting up just signs of a werewolf, so that way it's more believable when they see it.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing, using the blood that I collected and my hand axe to like carve, claw marks into trees, and looks like this is a place it killed something. Whatever
Make
that
me
may
a
be.
survival check, Argenta.
Okay. Do I get help from Henri?
Sure. I mean, Henri is relatively familiar with werewolves and that. I'll give you advantage on it.
Okay. That turns that, and I'm trained in survival, so 22.
You make a very compelling area where something was murdered. You show an area where something was dragged off. There are claw marks. There is a very, very strong scent of blood. With a little bit of... Because, again, you traveled an entire day without any refrigeration or anything. So there's a little bit of that smell of, like, kind of off... Not really rotting, but spoiled meat. Smell with it as well. So, yeah, it looks very convincing. By the time you're done with that, the patrol is getting close enough to you guys that it's probably going to come on. It's probably going to notice you within the next 10-15 minutes here. So, what do you guys want to do?
I would propose that we hide maximum of 60 feet away from the spots that he made look like a mutilated werewolf incident.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I looked at Vala. Yeah.
Yes, let's sneak back.
So everybody make me stealth checks.
Okay, I'm not playing Starfinder, so it is not an absurd number. I was about to say like 34, but it's 22.
That's still a relatively high number.
Yeah, I rolled a natural 19, so I was like thinking I was like, nope, different game.
15.
15 for Argenta. Vala?
9.
All right. So between the three of you, you guys all kind of go behind some trees. Vala trips, hits the ground, and goes, oof! And Argenta, you very quickly just kind of grab the back of her cloak and just yank her up and behind. And you guys hear the patrol moving very slowly. It sounds like they might have heard something. but
going.
they're also examining what looks like the site of a murder.
I want to. Are they all focused on the murder site?
Right now, it's a group of 3. 2 of them are focused and doing as much as they can to get as much information as they can out of this attack site. The third one is scanning around to make sure they're not getting ambushed.
Okay, I want to try and time it to where I make it look like a giant werewolf in hybrid form, obviously, so bipedal, just drops down from the trees and then just bolts so that they notice it running away and running away from them.
Okay. Due to the fact that it's an illusion, if it drops out of the tree and doesn't make a sound...
Yeah, maybe I'll make it appear from behind a tree.
Okay. I was going to say, it's going to be a very high roll if you make it drop from the tree. If it comes from behind a tree, the roll will be a little bit lower. I am going to need you to make a spell attack roll to see how effective you are. But with your practice, I'm going to give you advantage, since you've been practicing for a day.
That went from a 20 to a 21.
21, okay. So you guys watch as this werewolf that looks fairly realistic runs out from a tree and just darts away. It's dripping blood. Its clawed hands have pieces of flesh hanging off of it, and it just darts to the trees and disappears about 30 feet after it finds it diving behind a tree. And you watch the one that's kind of looking for an ambush immediately takes an arrow and looses it and just barely misses the illusion as it's running through. And the arrow sticks at a tree. The other 2 kind of see what's happened, and they both get their bows ready, and as soon as they have the arrow notched and aimed, the werewolf is gone. And you can see all of them, their faces are a little bit more pale. You can hear them talking, saying that they've got to get back to town to warn people that there's a werewolf around here. We need to get hunting parties, all that stuff. Anything you guys want to do before they run off?
I'm waiting for them to actually run off out of sight before I do anything else.
Okay, Paula, Andre, anything you want to do?
When they're really far away, I want to run, or probably go about 100 or so feet back from where we currently were and just make the sound of a werewolf howling in the night, and then sneak my way back.
That's exactly what I was going to do. I was going to rage and howl as well.
Okay.
Then I can just use thaumaturgy to make it 3 times louder if you want.
Sure.
All right, so they make a beeline back to the camp. You guys wait long enough for them to get back to the camp, and then Argenta, do both of you guys want to howl, or just one?
I'll just use thaumaturgy to amplify his howl, or her howl.
Okay. So Argenta, go ahead and just make me an intimidation check.
Natural 20, which turns into
Argenta comes out with with a realistic enough howl that you guys are not 100% sure that Argenta is not part werewolf. And you guys are far enough back that you can no longer see the camp. But you do hear a little bit of commotion when that happens. What do you want to do now?
I don't think we should stay in this spot. They should probably hide a decent distance away.
Do you want to circle around the camp? What do you want to do?
I think we should circle around and maybe prepare to set fire to things.
Okay. So you guys circle around. When you get to the point where you can see the camp, it is now a bustle with activity. You can see groups are forming up. You can see silvered weapons are being handed out. Silver crossbowed with silvered bolts, things like that. You guys can see them also handing out other things, like you can see them passing out garlic. You don't quite know why, because werewolves aren't actually affected by garlic, though if you cook them, garlic makes them taste better. And you see him doing other things, like you see a couple people taking out some vials of what looks like holy water, which again has no use against a werewolf, but you're like, okay.
I'm just kind of squinting at them, like, because I'm from werewolf territory. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like I mean, this is very, very common things. Werewolves, they don't like, they're not good with silvered weapons. They're not good with magic stuff. And if they bite you, you can turn into one. They're also not particularly fond of fire. But holy water doesn't really do a whole lot to them. Well, it gets them wet, and then they smell bad. Yeah, you guys have moved to a different position. You notice the first two groups in total make up about 20 men. And they're going in kind of a pincer formation to where the sound of the werewolf came from and the area of the attack. So they're trying to see if they can't kind of flank this werewolf. You guys are far enough beyond that neither group is going to interact with you. So now 20 people have been sent out. You see the rest of the group is starting to put up defenses and things like that. They're looking to see if the werewolf is going to try to attack. What do you guys want to do?
Vala, did you want to do something? Because I don't want to bring them over here when they're already over there.
Well, no, I'm just. You guys say the word, and I can start some fires in camp.
How close are we to where we could visibly, I guess, because I don't know the range of your spell, but how close are we from where we are to the actual camp?
To the kind of perimeter of the camp, you guys are probably like 200-300 feet away. Because for about 200 feet away from the camp, there are no trees. They have cut them down for visibility's sake. So you guys are at least 200. You could be as far as 300 feet away and still be able to see the camp relatively well.
I would need to be within 60 feet to start the party.
I mean, we'll tell them that you sacrificed yourself, not valiantly.
I could also disguise myself to look like one of those Blood Knight cards.
Sure.
I think that would fool everyone, but like the big three. If they're there, then they'd probably see through it. But if they're not there,
well, again, it's a big camp, so.
I just need to get, not draw any attention to myself, get close, start a few fires.
So, you can walk into the camp. Right now, they're on high alert. They have crossbows drawn and stuff like that, so they're looking. If you guys wanted to give them distractions where it would pull people away and create blind spots, you can do that. Vala can go in under disguise. What do you guys want to do?
We could always, you guys could always do another wolf call on another side of camp to draw more people out.
yeah,
It's up to you guys.
I'm fine with that if you're fine with going in alone. Because the second you start a fire and you get caught, it's going to be really hard to get out.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of trying to sneak in right now while everybody's on high alert. Maybe after things calm down a little bit.
Because I don't need to sleep. They do. I could just be like an alarm that they just can't shut off.
What do you think, Argenta?
Give me a moment. I could. I mean, their tents are treated, but I can shoot arrows into the camp from here.
Yeah, but if you shoot flaming arrows, those are typically easy to track, especially at night.
Yeah, I wouldn't shoot flaming arrows.
Yeah, the one benefit of magic, it doesn't leave Like, once the arrow impacts a tent, if it does set it on fire, there's still going to be an arrow there. So they'll be able to figure out what set the tent on fire. Whereas magic doesn't really leave too much of a mark other than the magic. So again, think of this more as a puzzle than anything. You've got right now. You have basically taken 20% of the people that were in there are now out, and everybody else is no longer relaxing. They're no longer sleeping. They're on high alert, which takes energy, which increases their stress level, which will decrease their combat effectiveness. That is what you have done so far. The entire purpose of you guys being there is to decrease their combat effectiveness as much as physically possible. So what other things can you guys think of to do that will mess with them? You don't even have to go into the camp.
Did Henri ever...
I could just set the forest on fire again.
They're already aware that is a trademark of you guys, so they would come and investigate that. And they're already afraid that there's a werewolf. So, I mean, that is definitely an option that you have.
I sneak off 60 feet from the group.
Okay.
Point 60 feet ahead of me.
Okay.
Create a bonfire, preferably around a tree.
Okay. Another tree erupts into flames. It takes a little bit of time for the tree to really, really catch. But it does set a couple trees near it on fire as well. It's been a little bit dry the past few days. So you have this little forest fire that you've created.
And I back up towards the group and say, guys, maybe we need to head that way more.
Yeah. Let's change position.
Okay, so you guys move again. You're able to see the camp as the fire starts. The camp starts shuffling around again. They start repositioning their forces to specifically repel an attack from there. They get another group of about 20 people and send them towards the fire. And you do make me perception checks, everybody.
Perception, that's a 20 for me. Dirty, not natural.
16 for me.
All right.
6.
All right. So Henri and Argenta, you guys are both able to see Mordecai coming out to the edge and talking with a couple of the people. He smacks a few of them. You can't really tell what they're saying, but he seems to be very, very upset. He's picking up some people and throwing them around and barking orders and stuff like that. And then he very angrily storms back into in the direction of the very large tent where you know the noble is. So you guys have done that. Now 40% are no longer in the camp, and there are definite holes in their watch. So if you wanted to exploit one of those, you could. There's simply just not enough people to be able to cover every single angle right now. Even with them having cut down a bunch of trees, there's still stumps and everything, and it's dark. So,
well, I mean, I can alter the way I look, and I'll pull down my hood and just change myself to look like Argenta and point out that this doesn't go away and the marking is still there even though my appearance has changed. So people could put 2 and 2 together, and I'll just revert back. So it wouldn't be the best idea if I went in. I mean, I could go in if I wanted to make them wet themselves, but I would probably get attacked profusely.
True. I think you'd be better trying to scare a handful into running away.
Yeah, easily.
They have broken up into smaller groups. You know, the camp has, roughly about 40 people or 60 people still in it, plus the more trained people in the back. But you have 2 groups of 10 that are going after the werewolves, and one group of 20 that's heading after the fire. So if you wanted to start picking off smaller groups to try and intimidate them, try and kill them, you have that option.
Yeah. I mean, if I have blood from a freshly killed person, I can create a better distraction.
Does it have to be a person?
Well,
Because Argenta's got plenty of blood.
Has to be a humanoid killed in the last 24 hours.
Okay, well, you guys can find someone to kill.
All right.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go look and try to find someone.
All right, so which group do you want to target? The ones going after the fire or the ones going after the werewolves?
Werewolf would probably be a lot less visible.
Less flames. Let's go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys have to do a pretty big circle around, but you eventually come across one of the 2 10-man groups looking for the werewolves. Make me insight checks.
Ooh, 17.
Okay.
8.
Okay.
8 as well.
All right. Vala and Henri, you see just a bunch of people. Argenta, you kind of pick out one that you think would probably be the easiest to convince to break from the rest of the group. So you kind of target that one, and I need a survival check.
Survival?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That is a 16.
All right, so you're able to kind of lure him away. Killing a single person is not a difficult thing for you to do. So you have blood, Henri.
All right. Now let me...
There's now 99 of them.
Yes.
I take the body, set it down, and may the Dark Lady's light guide you.
Everyone stand in this circle, or at least, be inside the circle, and I'll create a circle with the blood.
As soon as Vala's done blessing it, and Henri starts doing that, I start hanging him from the tree.
Okay.
And then
Using some of my rope.
As in actual, like, hanging from a noose, or making it look like a werewolf killed him?
Actually, let's make it look like a werewolf killed him. That makes
Okay.
more sense.
So you have him kind of impaled on the tree. He's missing a limb or two.
okay, and
It's dirty work, but...
Now, I've learned the hard way, don't leave this circle, no matter what happens. And the group that's still hunting for the werewolf, the 9 or so that are left, I'm going to cast summon lesser demons right in the middle of them.
When did you get that spell?
I had one spell before we started, and I was like, I'll try it.
I was not aware you had access to that. Okay. Shit. Do you have lesser demons in mind?
It's either I or you roll the d6 to determine what's summoned.
Go ahead and roll the d6. I don't have the spell in front of me, so...
Then it's just 4 demons of challenge rating, half or lower. And they will harm anyone and everyone as long as they're outside of the circle of blood.
Okay. Do you have specific demons that you know of that are... what is the challenge rating again?
Half. Probably should have looked this up, but it was spur of the moment.
That's fine.
Their stretches are quarter rating.
Monsters by
Or no,
10.
half.
Demon. Challenge rating You'd have Dretch. What was it? What's the challenge rating?
Half
Half.
or lower,
Or
but just
lower.
4 of them in total.
Yeah, I'm only seeing Dretch, which is a 1/4.
And we'll just
Where's
go.
my monster manual? There's an entire section called demons in here.
Sorry.
Dragon comes after demon. It's demons, not devils, right?
Yes, summon lesser demons. Yeah.
I think a Balor is a quarter, right?
Yeah.
I think they would bypass the safety of the blood circle.
So Dretch look nasty. So I think we're going to stick with Dretch because I cannot, for the life of me, I cannot find a demon that is challenge rating 1/2.
Yeah, that seems to be the only one. Then it jumps up to 1 according to this website. So
Yeah.
that's fine.
Which is fine.
And they're there for an hour or until they die.
They slaughter one of the groups. And it takes about 30 minutes to do it. So you have another 30 minutes if you want to try and do something else.
I'm not going to push my luck in trying to pull another group into these demons.
Okay.
And so, because I don't want to leave the circle and have them jump on me.
All right, so it's a concentration spell, right?
Yeah, for up to an hour.
So you can cancel whatever you want.
Oh, yeah. Then I'll cancel it so they just... I still think they stay.
They stay for a couple rounds. Like you roll for a number of rounds and then they disappear. So it's less than a minute.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, you cancel the spell. They go off. There are pieces of these guys on trees, on the ground. Like those Dretches are not particularly nice demons. They kill with claws and they leave poisonous gas and things around them. And so the other group finds this due to the fact that something getting killed by claws looks like something else getting killed by claws. They can't really tell that it's not a werewolf killing these people. And so the rest of the 10-man group runs back to camp to get better armored and a bigger group to hunt this group of werewolves now.
I don't think staying here much longer is going to prove beneficial to us.
Okay. So you guys circle around to another part of the camp, or?
I'll leave it to your guys' discretion.
I look at Vala.
I mean, I can do that again, but something tells me it won't be as effective.
No, but I feel like we need at least one more bonfire.
All right. I
We'll
think after
circle
this,
around.
we should probably leave the area for a while.
Good idea.
Yeah, you guys can wait, a few hours for everything to die down. The patrols keep looking; they don't find anything, but they're full vigilance. They have a full watch on. No one is sleeping nearly as well as they would normally, and 10 of their group are dead now. So a few hours pass. What do you guys want to do?
Probably start how big did the other fire get?
It was about 3 trees, so probably about a 20, 25-foot area that was on fire.
Right. Maybe we should, Argenta, do you have ways of starting fire as well?
I have torches.
Okay, so maybe we should start a couple fires, like roughly 60 feet apart so it covers bigger area, and then get out.
All right.
Now, Vala creates a bonfire, so her fires are going to be bigger and catch things much faster than just a torch will.
Yeah.
So,
And I can sit in one spot, create a bonfire over here. Once that takes, I can create a bonfire over here. Then once that takes, I can create a bonfire over there, and then
Let's leave it to the expert.
Let's leave it to the one with pyrokinesis.
all right. So, Vala, go ahead and make me a spell attack roll. See how effective you are at getting these to work.
I'm gonna use some inspiration there. Oh, that's a little bit better. Where's my spell attack? 16.
16. Good enough. So you sit there and you create these three, and you get a large portion of the forest now burning. And you guys kind of book it out of there. You see the camp itself sees the fires start. You're starting to get this feeling of fear from the camp. Like, you can see people are on edge now. 10 of their people were brutally murdered and ripped into tiny pieces by a werewolf, apparently, or multiple werewolves. And now fires are starting all around. So they send out even more. They have 2 groups of 20 already searching for this werewolf and are not having luck. They send an additional 30 soldiers out to try and figure out what is setting all these fires. So now 40 and 30, 70. There's only 30 people total left in the camp. They're all on watch. There are massive gaps in the camp perimeter. What do you guys want to do?
I mean, I could sneak in and then set fire to the camp. Or at least
Very possible. There are
stores.
enough blind spots that you could probably make it in and out pretty quickly.
There's only 20 people left in the camp, right?
30.
'Cause we killed 10.
10, yeah. Then yeah, 20.
Do you have a way of making yourself invisible?
Invisible, no. But I could make myself look like either one of those Blood Guard Knights or Blood Knight Guards, or one of the mercenaries. I can make myself look like someone else so they don't see me coming.
Well, there's that, or if you think you can get in and out in under 10 minutes, I could cast Fly, and you can just fly really low so that you go even faster. Create the fire and then just fly out.
I mean, if I fly just 60 feet over them, I can create the fire.
Well, and again, it's the bonfire appears, right? You don't shoot the bonfire, right?
Correct. I just have to be within 60 feet of it.
So theoretically, there'd be nothing to trace it back to you, and they're not looking for something flying right now. They're looking for werewolves and you guys, basically. You guys have never flown before.
So you can be in and out in 10 minutes. Just don't fly too high, because I learned the hard way. That hurts.
I like this plan.
Okay.
I'm supportive
Henri,
of this plan.
take a point of inspiration, because that was a very unique idea.
Alrighty.
Vala, I'm not even going to make you roll for it, because this is kind of shooting fish in a barrel. You're only able to get about 3 fires started, but they spread enough.
For flavor, I do find a smallish branch, about 2 or 3 feet long, and stick it between my legs as I'm going over the camp.
Okay. So you fly over. You start off 3 bonfires. Each kind of group of tents generally will house about 7 to 10 soldiers. So you're able to take out the tents of 4 of those groups. So now roughly about 30 to 40 people no longer have a place to sleep. And
Excellent.
you're able to come back with plenty of time.
That
All right.
is a high five.
I'll
Yeah.
very cautiously.
So this
Oh,
has
put it-
taken about 6 of the 8 hours of the night. You guys have 2 hours left. Is there anything else you want to do
I
tonight?
don't think we should overstay our welcome. It's only a matter of time before they catch on that we're just relocating and doing this.
A bunch of drow fucking with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say we get headed back.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to go far enough away that they won't find you, camp during the day, and then harass them again for another night? Or do you want to... Because you guys, basically, you traveled during the day, you spent all night harassing them, you're going to need to rest eventually, or you're going to get exhaustion points. So,
Yeah, that's-
do you guys want to do this? Do you guys want to do this again tomorrow night, or do you want to head back and just have one night of this happening?
Oh no! I think we need to do this again tomorrow night.
Okay.
You guys can sleep. I can keep watch the whole night.
Or technically
I give
day.
I give him a weird
Yeah,
look
day.
and I just say, okay.
So yeah, you guys are able to repeat. How many nights do you want to repeat this? I'm not going to make you roll for each night, but how long do you guys want to stay out there doing this?
Well, I mean,
I think 2 or 3, like minimum.
Okay.
yeah.
Make sure that pit gets done and they're busy with this shit.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys stay out for about 3 nights. While they're doing that, you guys are able, Lillian, Preach, and Commander, you guys are you guys are able to get the pit dug. You're able to, based on Henri's suggestion, you're able to kind of position the wagons in a place, in a way where it doesn't look like they're funneling them to the pit, but they're funneling them to the pit. And you guys are able to spend a little bit more time training your troops and basically telling them where it is that they're going to best be able to position themselves for the fight so that they're most effective. You know, you're telling, you know, Commander, you're telling your archers, okay, we're going to have you guys all up on top of buildings. Lillian, you're telling your fighters, okay, we're going to have you hiding over here so that once the pit drops, you can run in and basically make it so you put their backs against the people that don't fall in the pit. Will have to either fight you or fall into the pit on top of their comrades. And Preach, you're basically just going, okay, these are the shadowy spots. Stay here till someone gets close, and then stabby stab. So that's what happens over the next 3 or 4 days. Eventually, Argenta, Valraven, and Henri, you guys come back. Right before you get into town, somebody comes and stops you guys from walking over the pit and kind of guides you back into town.
That's a good pit.
Yeah. It looks very well hidden. You didn't notice it. So you guys are all back up in the Commander and Henri's room. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about now that you're back?
I'll tell the Commander, you may want to start warning the citizens that any rumors of a werewolf is not true, and that was us. And we managed to take out, how many would you say we managed to... We only killed the 10 of them, right? In
So
total.
you killed 10 the first night. They started getting smarter. So each night you basically got diminishing returns on your demons.
Okay.
But grand total, you got 10 the first night, 5 the second night, 3 the third. So grand total of 18.
And how many tents did Vala end up burning down?
By the end of the third night, she had burned everybody's tents at least once. They went and, they had spares and they made new shelters and things like that. But yeah, nobody slept for like 3 days.
Note to self: don't piss Val off.
You have no
By the
idea.
end of the third night, you did notice some of the troops were leaving. You were not able to get a head count.
Okay. Yeah, they think the woods are full of demons and werewolves at this point.
Well, that and
Wow,
they're
that works
tired
out
and they're
really
not
well.
able to sleep, and the forest keeps catching on fire randomly.
Spontaneous combustion sucks.
I
I
will
mean, by the
not be getting
third
a
day, you were
Christmas card
running
from
out of
Smokey
forest
the
to
Bear.
burn.
Yeah. We
not
were like
flying
the
around.
perfect 2 half drow and a full drow. We were the perfect night squad for this.
Well,
I didn't even realize we did that. That's. Yeah. One thing I did want to do is get unattuned to this thing, this buckle thing.
Okay. So every night, you have alone time because Henri's not in your room anymore. Every night you attempt to unattune to this thing, you can't. Every time you try to, you sit there and you look at it, and something about it, it seems important. You don't know why, but you get this incredibly bad feeling that if you take it off, something horrendous is going to happen. And so you just can't seem to get rid of it. You have started hiding it on your person so that other people can't tell that you have it. Not really consciously, but you have noticed that you're keeping it in places so that nobody sees it.
Okay.
Just out of habit, which is weird because you've only had it for a day. You haven't had it long enough to have habits. But for whatever reason, you're hiding it on your person. But even when you sleep, you won't take it off.
Okay. Nothing else I can do then, really, is there?
No. You also have this very, very strong aversion to talking to people about it.
Okay.
And the fact that you can't unattune to it. You feel kind of mixture of shame and fear that they're going to, somehow hurt you or, not believe you anymore or not trust you if they find out that you have this thing that you can't get rid of. So you have this kind of secret shame combined with, precious. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, there goes that idea. Okay.
It's weird when you attune to things that you don't know what they are. It's one of the reasons
I
that
know.
identify spell is so useful.
Well, I'm not a magic caster.
Ah, what can I say?
I know.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, you guys are all kind of filled in on everything that's happened, and that is where we are going to end it for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Those of you that tuned in, thank you to Elias for hosting us. If you'd like to see the rest of this series, I do upload it to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TraderJody. So you can head over there and see the entire campaign thus far. I think we're on like episode 4 or 5 now. So this is a brand new campaign. These guys have been playing together for a little over a year now. I think like a year and a half. They had a previous campaign that they played, and then we started this one. So all that's on my YouTube channel. I am also a brand new affiliate for Twitch. So if you would like to, you are more than welcome to subscribe to the channel. I do have emotes for the $4.99, the $9.99, and $24.99 subscriptions. So feel free, if you would like to go ahead and subscribe. You get access to the emails. It helps support me. and gives me the ability to create more stuff. The other thing, this Saturday is International Tabletop Day. Every year since the first International Tabletop Day, I have run a parody D&D game. It's silly. We do weird things. We break rules. They've done everything from I turned them into Power Rangers a couple of times. They did an Ocean's 11 style heist. They saved a version of the Avengers that is legally distinct enough to not infringe upon a copywritten entity. It's silly. It's funny. It's going to be humorous. 9 a.m. Pacific time. Right on this channel will be the first time that I've actually streamed it on my personal channel. It's twitch.tv/TraderJody. Tune in to watch us do something very, very silly. Other than that, that's all from me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.